Hey guys, this is the OmegaHangar, and in this video tutorial I'll be showing you how to do a VOR DME approach. Oscar has made a basic tutorial, well actually a good tutorial on a basic VOR DME approach, but in this tutorial he just focused on actually getting the frequency in and turning into the VOR and flying towards it. But there's actually a lot more if you go into detail in VOR DME approaches than simply, following the course. For example, let's take a look at this VOR DME approach chart for St. Marteen Princess Juliana International Airport, runway 10. You see that you start at a hold, and the hold has a radial of 308 degrees. So you hold till you get to, you either get clearance or you get to a certain altitude. After the hold, we enter the VOR in a course of 318 degrees and fly till the DME shows 7 miles from the VOR. Once we're there, we start a 9 DME arc to the left and intercept the VOR course at 96 degrees, and that's our final approach. Now there's a second part of VOR DME approach charts, and that is the vertical navigation. So you look at the map, you see there are a lot of hazards up to 1,400 feet, so excuse me. Because of that, we have to follow a vertical navigation chart to get us to the airport. Now in the chart you see that you're holding at 128 and 308 degrees till you get down to 2,500 feet. So basically the hold is just so that we get down to 2,500 feet. Now once we're at 2,500 feet, we enter the VOR course 318 and fly for 7 miles while we descend to 2,130 feet, and from there we do the 9 DME arc and make our final approach at the 7-mile mark to the airport elevation, which is 13 feet in case of St. Marteen. There's also a good formula to calculate your vertical speed for the final approach, so you don't have to do it manually. You have to use the altitude minus elevation. In this case I'm just gonna neglect elevation because it's very close to the sea level. That divided by 7 over indicated airspeed on final approach times 60. On this approach I'm gonna be going at around 140 to 150 knots, so that's around negative 700 feet per minute. Alright, let's get into the cockpit, and first of all, I'll tell you where we are. The map. We are flying northeast of St. Marteen. I'm gonna first go down, so I'm gonna turn this right to 180 degrees. Now, as on the map, you have to intercept the VOR at a hold at 308. So we're gonna first punch that in. Now make sure when you fly the A330-200s or the 300s, you always initialize your flight plan. This is an empty flight plan, but you still have to initialize your from to airports and your cruise flight level and temperature. Now if you go to flight plan, you'll see that there's only St. Marteen, the departure and destination. To create a hold, let's say you have waypoints, you're gonna go to the waypoint right before the holding waypoint and put in the code. So here it's Papa Juliet Mike for Princess Juliana, and you select that as next waypoint and you select hold to go to hold configuration. Now here we're gonna hold at a radial of 308, which is at a left turn, and this is the default is good. I'm gonna insert the hold. You go back to flight plan, you should see hold L right below the waypoint. So I'm gonna select that and click on direct to. Now over here you could either directly just head to that and start your hold, but I'm gonna go a little bit more by changing the heading manually, and then I'll intercept the hold. Now for a VOR DME approach, you have to have your VOR entered into the radio navigation. You can either put in the frequency, which is 113.00 for this one, or you could just put in the code. I'm gonna put in the code. It'll automatically get you the frequency and the course. Now for the final approach, course is 96 degrees, but after the hold we want to get on a course of 318 degrees. So I select 318 as a course. Also note that there is an NDB right next to this VOR, which is Papa Juliet Delta. You can use NDB approaches too by putting the frequency in ADF1, but NDBs will only give you the direction to it. You can't follow a course and you won't get the distance to it. So now you see that the VOR shows here, and you also have the distance to the VOR. Let me show you NDB. So I put in 284, it's not necessary, but if you're doing an NDB approach, you use this to switch to ADF1. The green will show you the direction to the NDB. Go back to VOR. The white arrow here shows you the distance, the direction to the VOR, and this purple line is your position with respect to the course. For example, right now we're flying to the right of the course, so we are on the right. This sort of goes in with this on the map. Now the purpose of the hold is so that we get down to 2,500 feet. We may not even need to do the hold if I can get down to 2,500 feet before we get there. Now around, we should have the airports in sight. We have seen Marteen there. I'm going to set this to manage mode so that the aircraft flies towards the VOR DME for the hold, as in the flight plan. Now if we get to that VOR DME by and we're at 2,500 feet, we won't need to hold, so we'll directly intercept the VOR at a course of 318 degrees for the 7 nautical mile outward descent to 2130. Alright, now flying the VORs. You can, when you have the VOR punched in and it shows you something there, you can either fly it visually, or manually, by looking at the ND. Right now we're to the right, so we go a little to the left. When the line comes near the center, we turn right towards it and intercept, or you could do it automatically. The localizer function on the A330 is used to follow a localizer beacon, which is a localizer a frequency, which actually works the same way a VOR does. Now if you have if you have ILS selected, now because there is no ILS, it's going to go off, but if you don't have ILS selected and then you engage LOC, this is going to track the VOR. Currently we're still slowly turning for the hold. Now we're going to get down to 2,500 feet on time, so I'm not going to do the hold. You could do the hold till you get down, doesn't matter, but right now I'm gonna click on LOC so that this follows the course track. In the meantime, I'll also set this to 318 degrees so that even after I get to the VOR, I'm just gonna follow that heading. As we get closer to the line, you'll see that this line also gets closer, which is actually showing our position with respect to the course. There we go. We're now turning to the right to intercept. Right, now I'm gonna set it to fly a heading of 318 degrees, which is actually just this line. We're probably right over the airport right now, which is the VOR DME. Right. Now the green number here is the distance from the VOR DME, so when that gets to 7, we start our 9 DME left turn. Meantime, I'm gonna slow down a little and get our flaps down. When you have your flaps down, always make sure that your speed is not in the red zone. Now we descend to 2,100 feet. Actually 2,130, but you can only put this in hundreds, so right, we get to 2,100 feet. From there we make the 9 DME arc at 7 miles, and then at a course of 96 degrees we make our final approach. Now we're not tracking the VOR automatically, so I'm gonna change the course here to 096, which is the course for the final approach. As you see, this thing has changed right now. It's just course 96. So once we finish the 9 DME arc, we are going to intercept the VOR, we're gonna track it automatically, and at about 2 miles from the VOR we're gonna switch to manual and flare and land. Now let's get the chart back up. Now you see that if you want to do a missed approach, if there's something wrong, you have to do it at 2 miles, because there are a lot of hazards after the airport. So as soon as you get to 2 miles and you want to go around, you have to turn to 160 degrees and do a missed approach there. You should not go beyond the runway and then do a missed approach. Now I'm gonna start turning. We already crossed 7 miles. Gonna set the vertical speed load to 700 feet per minute. So I'm gonna go a little faster, 800. Now in the arc, I'm gonna intercept the 96 degree course. So that's the VOR DME in the ND over there on the airport. So gonna go a little bit more. You could use the map, but I recommend using the ND itself because that's much more realistic. So you've seen the map, you're now flying there. We're going to intercept this for the final approach. Just say 9. Well, this was a little more than 9 because I kind of lost track of everywhere, but it's really important that you always keep an eye on that. Oops, wrong way. Turn in 150 now. Let's go 145. Let's go to the airport. That's the airport. And I'm just gonna maintain this heading till the line comes in the center, and when I'm at the course, I'm gonna intercept the VOR by hitting the LOC button. Excuse me. Okay, Gonna intercept the LOC now, the course. See, that's the airport. Now gonna slow down to 145 knots. As you see, we're 7 miles, and that's the start of our final approach. And that's the runway. Okay, now it's also important to note that VORs won't normally be right before the runway. They'll be offset by a little. If you look at this map again, the VOR is actually a little to the right of the runway, so at the 2-mile mark you have to correct yourself by going left. At some airports, like I flew to Nice a few days ago. In Nice airport, the VOR is really far away, so you need to correct yourself by you're gonna have to do that manually, because the automatic course flying system would get you to the center line or around there. In manual, you can get the line somewhere around between the first and second dots, and fly along that. Currently 3 miles. At 2 miles, I'm gonna disconnect the autopilot and manually correct our course in.